Hello and welcome. It's India's largest India to India focused business process management company. It's called Aegis and also counts amongst its clients some of the largest telecom and BFSI or banking financial services companies. Joining me now is Sandip Sen, who heads the company in India. Sandip, thank you very much for joining us. So first question, which is more environmental. How has it been for the last year or so? What are the new things that you're seeing in your space?
Well, what we are seeing in the last year or so is from a customer perspective, there has been an interest on a couple of new items. One is how can we use technology to reduce cost. So the way we've been going to customers by saying we understand that you're looking at a total cost of ownership, and let's look at a voice customer care business. And by saying, look, here's the use of a high-end sophisticated IVR. So we're going to mix and match the calls. Some will be on the IVR, some will be directly handled by agents, etc. So we as a BPO company, of course we have a technology arm called AGC, are actually going to customers with an offering, with a technology offering along with the BPO offering. Right. That's one. The other thing, and you may have heard from others, at least but we see it because we do a lot of work, for example in the travel segment, is the whole use of social media. Today, what started off in small, but today customers are saying, hey look, tell us in totality what customers are telling, not just customers who are calling up the BPO or talking to the BPO. Because the customers talk to each other, they talk in the social media space. So we have, for example, a product called Aegis Lisa, where what we're able to give them is understand the comments that these customers are making in totality at the center, at the retail shop, at the call center, etc., and give them. So I think there has been a shift to some of these things over the last 1 year.
And that sounds quite interesting, the whole social media thing. So are you seeing a lot of Indian companies also beginning to use this? Or this is only Indian companies that we're talking about?
No, we're actually talking about more international companies.
Right.
And again, it depends on industry to industry. Financial services will go a little later, more conservative, security concerns. Travel is big. Today, if somebody were to go, and take a new trip, I think it would first go to TripAdvisor. So today, we work for some of the biggest hotel companies and hotel chains in the world. And for one of them, we actually did a study. And we found out the totality of customer experiences and found out some interesting things. Are customers more interested in check-in time, or are they looking at, let's say, room service? A lot of this has been gauged from the social media in terms of intensity, in terms of the number of comments, and overlaid with some amount of analytics. So I think that is a trend.
So what did you find? I'm curious.
Interesting enough. So what we found was that, look, if the check-in time takes a little more time, they don't mind. But if the room service takes more time, they mind, because for two things: either they're hungry, the kid is hungry, they want something. So that is very, very important. So if I were a hotel chain, it's important to have the check-in time between 3 minutes, but if it's 5 or 6 or 7, he's okay, not too late. But if there's a room service thing and you say 15 minutes and it's 35 minutes, the customer is going to be quite upset, as one example. But a lot of this gleaned from social media.
Right. So these are some of the new things that are happening. How is this sort of affecting, or how are your people and skill levels responding to all this?
Look, I think that's interesting. A lot of work that we do globally is in the customer care space, where it's important, let's say if we do the work from India, is that people have to be articulate, they have to speak good English, etc. But what in a couple of these businesses, it's also important to have some domain knowledge, some understanding of it. So there is a little bit of a shift. Currently, these are not as big as they have been on the customer service, but what will happen over a period of time, as India does more and more of so-called value-added work, it's important that we have these skilled people who are able to deliver that. So you can see a shift. At this case, it's a marginal shift. It's not yet a paradigm change, but it will happen.
And what will that call for? I mean, from your side?
I think that would call for people who have, let's take an example of if more and more analytics comes to India. You're going to use people who are familiar with numbers, who have done maybe a graduation in mathematics, who may have done some more skilled work. So it has to be not just the fact that I can speak or I can understand, but familiarity with that concept or the product that I'm going to sell. And I think so therefore today BPO companies which hire a lot of freshers will probably then go more to colleges and more to, so we will follow in a sense, not fully, but the IT pattern in terms of hiring.
And what's the time frame you see for this kind of transition?
Well, some of it is happening, and paradoxically some of it is happening because a lot of the voice business, or some of the voice businesses in the Philippines. So in a sense it's kind of worked to India's advantage, ironically enough, because it's forced India to say, look, what are we good at? Are we good at back-end? Are we good at analytics? Are we good at things? And some of these things are higher up the value chain. So I think it'll happen sooner than later, but it's still going to be a few years.
Right, and I guess that's being driven by companies like yours. I mean, you're
that's been driven by
that's
been driven by us and a lot of other companies in India.
Right. So how do you see the talent supply chain? I mean, in terms of future supply for all the things that you want to do and you want to grow and go back to your customers with?
Well, I think what's important is we kind of work together, which is NASSCOM, us, and maybe the government also. I think one of the, I'm part of the BPM Council here, and one of the things we're trying to see, can we work, let's say, with private universities and hopefully public also, it's a 3-year course or a 4-year course, and at some point have some part of the curriculum which is related to BPM, which is in the kind of work that BPM specializes in terms of expertise, et cetera, so that you have people who understand the nuances of the business and are more ready. So, and the other advantage would be then these kind of higher skilled people would also be much more positively disposed towards the industry. Today we take a lot of freshers, a lot of people think this is aspirational, but when we want to move up the value chain, we need to make it aspirational for those guys also. So I think what is important is collaboration between companies, with NASSCOM and with the government.
Right. And last question, how's the year ahead looking for you and to you?
Look, the year ahead is good for us. We are today, in terms of business, we have about 56,000 people. We are about overall $1 billion. The fact is that we have businesses in a large, we have a global delivery model, and that is important because a lot of times customers dictate where they want to be, and today we are providing an integrated solution to customers. So we're saying, look, a lot of back office, a lot of the work that requires analytics, we'll do it in India, some of the voice will do it in the Philippines, and some of the high-end work we'll keep it in the US. So among a lot of BPO companies, we are among the few. We have 6,000 people in the US, and which are all Americans. But because we have a global delivery model, we can do, and the term that we use now is right shoring, by saying, look, we will use the work where it is best suited to the kind of work you do. And I think because we've been using this model, I think we've been successful. We've grown at a very fast rate, and I see no reason why we will not continue.
Right. So last question, since you are a global company and a global model, what could be the next Philippines?
Well, that's a question we keep asking ourselves. And I don't think there is a next Philippines. There are going to be a lot of other companies which will do bits and pieces of the Philippines. There are some in Latin America, Central America, which are English-speaking. Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Panama, etc. Is one example. There might be 1 or 2 places in Southeast Asia. So on the voice side, there is no next Philippines. Sure. And even Philippines is getting saturated. Yeah. So overall,
the same talent supply problems as
talent problem that you see in India. So overall, if I look at the entire ecosystem, India still has a competitive advantage over anybody else. If you look at the whole thing, that's something, of course, we have to manage and maintain. So what we are doing as a company is we have businesses in Costa Rica. We're setting up a second nearshore base in the US. So we're going to have a large number of mini Philippines to complement Philippines on the voice side. And for a lot of non-voice high-end work, we're going to use India.
Right. Sandip, thank you very much for speaking with us. Thank you.